Pretty well organized, huh?
Yep.
For example, in Rpi Launchers, I made a folder specifically for DDLC mods. Inside, I made one for each of the 2 Rpi Launcher versions I recommended you to download. Let's go ahead and create a mod now. We'll begin with Rpi 6. Go into Rpi Launchers, DDLC Mods, Rpi 6, and create a new folder, naming it as what your mod will be called. To make it easier, don't add any spaces. Rpi has a packaging limitation when we eventually build our mod as an archive of its own.
Hey, look, it's example mod.
This is what you should see on your screen. If you're ready to move on, just holler.
I'm a holler. I'm gonna do it. Continue.
Very good. Now that we have our new folder, let's open the applicable Rpi launcher. In this case, it's version 6.99. Located in Rpi Launchers /Rpi 6. If you've downloaded Rpi 7.4.5, you should have found it downloaded and extracted in Rpi Launchers Rpi 7. In the SDK folder, just open rpi.exe. You can either run it normally or run it as an administrator by right-clicking on the application and selecting Run as Administrator. I usually open programs as administrator.
Yes, like you said.
Once Rpi eventually launches, we need to specify the mod directory we were just at earlier. To do this, open Preferences. The only thing you should do is to specify the projects directory. Let me show you what I mean. This is what you should have on your screen. Don't worry about the other settings, just change the projects directory to this one. And when you're done, let me know.
I'm done. So done. I'm done. Let's move on.
Alright. Now that we got our directory set up, let's return to the menu. Get it? Because the link to leave the settings menu says return, right?
Don't waggle your eyebrows at me. Just go. Go. Oh, I skipped some of your text because I was mashing.
Sorry, that was really uncalled for. Anyway, let's scurry back to the main menu and see what happens now. If you did it right, you should still see the 2 default Rpi projects called Tutorial and the Question. Wait, hold that thought. I know exactly what you're gonna say. Natsuki, what the fuck are you doing? We forgot to put the mod template files into our new mods folder. What's the big idea that you're trying to accomplish here? Well, if you can just silence yourself immediately, then I'll be able to continue this lesson, dummy. Jeez. Sorry about that. As you can see, I'm not in a good mood today. Perhaps this next task will calm my nerves. All you have to do now is to locate your fresh DDLC installation in one window, locate your mod template in another, and locate the empty mod folder in the third window. I recommend cascading your windows so that all of your windows will each share a portion of your desktop. First, copy all the folders and files that are in your mod template and paste them into the empty mod folder. The reason why I want to copy and paste the template files is that I want to be able to use the template again when I make a new mod. We're going to need the template files when we eventually do this again, because we're eventually going to set up a new mod that utilizes Rpi 7's features. Now go to the window where your fresh DDLC installation is located, and if you have not done so already, right-click on the file extracted here. If you have a Mac that has a mouse that has one button, either hold the mouse button down or find the menu option to extract it on the top of your screen. Extracting DDLC alone will take a few minutes due to how much content is present. In the vanilla game folder, copy all the RPA files and paste them into your new mod's game folder. And then...
Take notes, you will need to do this again when you set up your mod and you blocked it.
You should end up in the following behind me, the main directory of your mod with all the template files and all the RPA files in the game folder. When installing a DDLC mod, it is important to put all the DDLC archive files from your mod's game folder into DDLC's game folder. There's a chance that DDLC, after inserting the files, will either launch its corresponding mod normally, or do nothing. If it's the latter case, check both the log text file that generates and traceback.txt to see what's up. The traceback always automatically opens in Notepad when an error spits out something so serious that the game can't continue running at all and simply crashes. I just wish there was a way to prevent Notepad from launching with a traceback opened after a game crash.
What, do you hate it that much?
Just bring up an error that simply states that the game has crashed, and to ask whether the traceback should be opened or not. For God's sake! Anyway, let me know when you're sure that the files are in the right place.
Well, you know, if it opened a pop-up instead of Notepad, it's still just like one click to dismiss it, you know.
Good! Once we have our files in, restart your Rpi launcher and your mod should be on the list of projects. If everything checks out, you should start off with the initial splash screen followed by the title menu. First off, the splash will acknowledge that it's a mod of DDLC not affiliated with Team Silvano, and that the game files can be found at ddlc.moe. Second, the title menu will commence and you should see me and my friends floating in midair. The initial splash is only seen when your mod is launched for the very first time ever. If for whatever reason you want to read the warnings again, simply delete first run. There should also be a delete persistence option in the Rpi launcher itself. If that doesn't work, delete the saves folder. I think it depends on what version of Rpi you have. Let's return to the room now. I believe that we have completed all of the required tasks. Okay, let me give you a recap on what you learned from this lesson. We got to set up our first mod in DDM Maker and the DDLC mod template. The Rpi launchers that we obtained have been set to show off our list of mods. And the game files were quickly examined for the mod template. Next time, we'll take a look at the game files that appear in DDM Maker, and I'll explain about the core files as much as I can. When you're ready to move on, just select the next episode. But just don't keep me waiting, got it? Thanks for listening.
Okay, goodness, that was a long listen. And there are what? There's 14 of these plus some Rpi 7 lectures. Take a break. I feel like that's just going to close the thing, so I'm not going to click that. I'll click it when we're actually done. Setup part 2.
Okay, Hallie. Welcome to the second part of setting up your first mod. Last time we downloaded Doki Doki Mod Maker and the DDLC mod template. We downloaded both methods of creating mods to see which is more ideal. We looked at the game files in the mod template to discover version lockouts, the pronoun function, and more. Today we will be taking a look at the game files in our first mod that utilizes DDM Maker. The majority of what I'm about to tell you applies to the mod template as well, since I didn't talk about the other core files in the previous episode. We've got a lot to discuss before we start opening anything. Let's go ahead and open up our new mods game folder, shall we? Holy shit! That is a lot of files! Where do I start? Don't worry about me. I can tell you seem surprised as well.
I'm not surprised.
Let's see now. Oh, I see. A majority of these script files play an important role. Let's go over each file one by one. The mod assets folder is basically the folder where we keep any custom stuff that we make. Custom assets that are not normally seen in DDLC, such as backgrounds, CGs, sprites, etc. belong in that folder. We'll talk more about that in a future lecture. The Python packages folder is also there. That folder contains a file called singleton.py, which is really important. It's best not to touch that particular folder for the time being. But there exists 4 Rpa files in each new mod's game folder. These files are called Audio Rpa, Fonts Rpa, Images Rpa, and Scripts Rpa. Audio contains the music and sound effects created for the game. Fonts are the different text styles used in poems and core parts of the game. Images are in charge of the graphics that make up the game, such as backgrounds, CGs, and sprites. Scripts exists as a series of dialogue and coding for the game. The latter of the Rpa files appear to have been extracted already, which is nice. Let's take a look at the Rpy files. We're not going to open them just yet. Some of these are self-explanatory. For example, CG's Rpy just has definitions for individual pieces of the CGs that appear in the game. Apparently, CGs is a short way of saying character graphics in this game. I had no idea about that until now. The next file on the list is console.rpy. The console Rpy file basically contains the definitions for the console that would appear on the top left of the game's screen. The very same console that Monica literally deleted me with! Fucking Monica! Sorry for scaring you like that. I lost an argument with Monica before I wrote these lectures. She revoked my manga privileges for a week as a result. Excuse me for a moment.
Glad to know that even in the setting up mod tutorial, Monica is still a horrible person by this mod maker's design.
Okay. I'm calm. Now let's take a look at the next file. Credits Rpy. These define and control the end credits of DDLC in your mod. We won't do anything with this file for now. You might be able to figure out how to use the credits the right way by reading the comments that are in the file. Now then, about the definitions file. That file alone defines nearly everything in the game. It will play a crucial role when we're modding the game. I'll explain more on that in a future lecture. In the meantime, please keep that in mind. Next on the list is effects. That file defines the effects that are used in Act 2. Glitches, vignettes, noise, etc. The next one, glitches text, defines the glitch text that you just saw earlier and is mainly used in Act 2. That file is the smallest file I've seen, or smallest RPY file I've ever seen. Just 1 kilobyte. Damn.
Yeah, they really didn't put much in there.
Next up, we have GUI Rpy. The whole file looks a bit confusing to read at, in my opinion. I know that it defines the elements for the graphical user interface, but at least the comments are there to explain which variables link to the elements of the GUI that it points to. If it weren't for those hashtagged comments, all of the RPY files would have been extremely confusing to code on. Oh hey, all of our character files are in the game folder too. Each file resembles us 4 girls individually. I mean, represents, I don't know. Longest file is 135 kilobytes. Natsuki's, my file, is 44 kilobytes. Series file is 59 kilobytes. I don't see why this information is important. And Yuri's file is 30 kilobytes. Why does Monika's character file have a bigger size compared to the other ones? That's weird. I would have imagined Yuri's character file size to be 135 kilobytes because of, well, for her height. And my file size probably would have expected to be 30 kilobytes. Did developers pick random numbers to determine how large each of our individual character files should be?
No, it's because of the Easter eggs in them, you dummy.
This got awkward. One thing I'd like to add is that these files are here so that the game can restore the character files to the characters folder should they be deleted from there at any time.
At least you're right about that.
For example, Theory.cur gets deleted from the characters folder to the end, or to end Act 1. The player will eventually delete Monica.cur in Act 3 by going into the characters folder and yeeting her into the recycle bin, so that she will have no choice but to restore everyone else.
I'm sure that's your favorite part.
Moving on, we have Optionsarp.rpy coming up next. That's where you change the name of your config that will be mentioned in the splash screen. Your mod's name is defined as the config name. You also get to input the version number of your mod. The version number is defined as the config version. If you decide to update your mod on a semi-regular basis, changing the version number is recommended. Another thing worth changing is the name of your build. The name of your build is defined as the build name.
Oh, no kidding?
It's important to read the hashtagged comments in each RPY file as they will point you in the right direction. Next we got Poems.rpy and Poems Special Rpy. The Poems Rpy file defines all of our regular poems. The Poems Special Rpy file defines all of the special poems that appear in Act 2. Oh hey, there's poemwords.txt. That text file relates to the words that appear in the poem minigame. The poem minigame itself's inner workings can be found in the poem game RPY.
I can't grammar right now. My brain is fried. Don't mind me.
Then there's the Screens RPY. I suppose that's where all the inner workings for the screens from the main menu show up. It's best not to touch them if this is the first time making a mod. Though if you feel like playing around with it, that's fine. Just don't cause any script errors while doing it. If you do, Rpi will bite. And so will I. Next up is Script Rpy. The Script Rpy file is the core script that Rpi calls to start your mod story. More on that in the next lecture. The next file we have is Script Poem Game Rpy. It defines the inner workings of the poem minigame. Duh! We'll talk about the poem minigame itself in a future lecture. Next comes Splash Rpy. That file is responsible for checking to see if the DDLC archive files are in your mod. To install a DDLC mod, you must first copy all of the RPA files from the downloaded archive. Paste them into the Vanilla Games game folder. When asked to overwrite scripts.rpa, just overwrite it. And then when you open DDLC, it will run the mod. You're listening to these series of lectures right now because you have installed this mod correctly. Good job! Other than checking for the archive files, Splash Rpy defines everything from the title menu screen. It also defines things that you would only see when you first boot up the mod, such as the warning message and the option to delete your save data. The latter of which can be seen in action by deleting the file called First Run. You can also delete the saves folder, which will only show you once you actually start the game. But doing that isn't recommended unless you absolutely feel like starting the game from scratch. The last script file on this list is called Transforms Rpy. It defines the placements and animations used in DDLC. Well, that's all of the files. Now that you know a little bit about what the game files are and what they represent, it is time to get started with your first mod. We'll do this in the next lecture. So bring out your text editor that is capable of opening Rpy files and begin the next lecture when you're ready. No, Notepad does not count!
Okay, that one wasn't nearly as long. Story creation.
Alright, Hallie. The most groundbreaking moment of our modding experience has arrived. We're going to start working on our first mod. Let me give you a quick warning. Some parts of what I'm about to show you are only valid for those who use Windows. Though I'll try my best to provide the right instructions for those who don't use Windows. Anyway, the first thing that we're going to do is to ensure that all of our files show their extensions. I like to have all the files show their extensions so that it's easy to distinguish which file type all of them feature. Before we do that...
I think she was asking me which operating system I have. I'm a Windows guy.
That's excellent! I'm glad to see you use the same operating system as me. Anyway, let's get down to business. Open your File Explorer and go into your newly created Mods Game folder. Go into the File Explorer settings and click on the View tab. Look for a checkbox called File Name Extensions and click on the box to allow the extensions to appear. Go into Options, Change Folder, and search Options. Click on the View tab in the little pop-up window that appears. Look for the option called Hide Extensions for Known File Types and make sure it is not checked. If it is, just uncheck it by clicking on the checkbox. Click on Apply and then OK to save these changes. Hey, presto! We're ready to move on! After allowing our file extensions to be visible, let's create a brand new text file. To do this, we need to right-click on your File Explorer window and select New, and then click on Text Document. You can name your text file anything you want, but I'll go ahead and write Story Rpy as an example. Make sure to remove the text file extension and replace it with Rpy.
You can also just open your script editor, and when you first save the script, choose Rpy as the type.
This is what you should see on your screen. If the operating system asks if you are sure that you want to change the file type, warning you that it may become unusable, just say yes, because who gives a crap about that? In other words, if you're prompted to confirm that you want to change the extension, just say to yourself, yes, I want to change the file extension, and click OK. Alright, we have created our new file. Don't worry about the dates that each of the files were modified. Zachman Awesomeness is most definitely a lazy procrastinator. Zachman Awesomeness? More like Zachman Laziness? Don't you fucking dare tell him I said that!
It's his mod, I'm sure he knows.
Cause if you do, he'll probably say that I'm not his best girl anymore and give the crown to Yuri instead.
As if.
And I hate the main character clones who pursue for Yuri. It's something that you should understand since you obviously played the original game. In the original game, Yuri's route states that I get on my bad side and show absolute hatred to the player who likes Yuri more. Go ahead and blame Monica for making me act the way I was in the game.
No.
Anyway, if you never opened any Rpy files before, you can right-click one of them and select Open With. The Explorer will ask you to find a program that is capable of opening files with that extension. You should find the text editor that you want to use to open the file. You can browse your computer for such software on the internet or find one your operating system's built-in store app. The Microsoft Store should have something for you that is capable of opening Rpy files. Just so you know, Zachman Awesomeness uses Visual Studio Code, so we'll be using that. Again, you can use any text editing software or freeware that you want. But let me say this again. Notepad doesn't count! Got it? Alright, let's open up our new file. There is no size, but it will increase as time goes on. So please keep that in mind. I did see mods that were huge in size, ranging from a couple megabytes to more than 1 gigabyte. Then again, the sky's the limit. However, just take care of your PC storage, that's all.
Well, the ones that are really big usually include custom music.
I don't know what you do to your C drive that causes it to be filled up. This should apply to any other drive that you use most of the time. Remember to clean your drive and free up space every once in a while, okay? Thanks!